Disclaimer: this video is AI generated for infotainment only. Data sourced from the internet. AI may hallucinate. Verify all facts independently.
In November of 2025, the Supreme Court did something it almost never has to do. It struck down a law for the second time. The first time, it had voided the very same rules. Parliament had simply passed them again, almost word for word. The fight wasn't over something dramatic. It was over a question that sounds almost boring. How long should a certain kind of judge serve, and who gets to choose them? But hidden inside that dull question was something much bigger, whether an entire second justice system, one most Indians have never heard of, is actually independent at all. Chapter 36, Tribunals. Alongside the courts you picture, the ones with the robes and the high benches, India runs a second, quieter network. Specialist forums built to settle whole categories of disputes faster and cheaper than an ordinary court ever could. They weren't in the original constitution at all. They were bolted on in 1976 by the 42nd Amendment, a brand new part 14A with just 2 articles. Article 323 covers service disputes, the quarrels of government employees. Article 323B covers a long list of other matters: tax, labor, land, rents, elections. The whole idea was speed. Pull these cases out of the clogged regular courts and hand them to specialists. So here's what we'll settle in the next few minutes. What these tribunals actually are. The biggest of them, the one for government servants, the line the constitution drew so they could never replace the real courts. The war still being fought over them right now. Start with the biggest. In 1985, the country set up the Central Administrative Tribunal, the CAT, for the service disputes of public servants. A clerk fighting a transfer, an officer fighting a pension, this is where they go. It was built to be reachable. It isn't bound by the heavy civil procedure code that ties up the ordinary courts. It runs on the plain principles of natural justice. The fee to file is just 50 rupees. You can argue your own case in person without a lawyer at all. Its reach is wide. The All India Services, the Central Civil Services, civilian staff of the Defense Ministry. Though not everyone, not the soldiers themselves, not the Supreme Court's own staff, not the Secretariat of Parliament. It sits as a bench of expert members chosen on the advice of a committee led by the head of the judiciary. Fast, cheap, specialist. It sounds like pure progress. But a court that could quietly replace the real courts would be dangerous, so the constitution drew a hard line. Defending that line has taken decades. Part 2. We met the first article, the one for service disputes. Now the second, Article 323B, opens the door much wider. Tribunals can be built for taxation, for foreign exchange and trade, for industrial and labor disputes, for land reforms, for ceilings on city property, even for election disputes, food matters, and added later in 1993 rent and tenancy. There's a key difference. The service tribunals can only be created by Parliament. But these can be set up by the states too, each one stacking a whole hierarchy of forums all the way up. Now think about what that means. You have specialist courts replacing the ordinary ones for more and more of daily life. So a dangerous question appears: what if these tribunals were built to escape the real judges entirely? To put themselves beyond the reach of the high courts and the Supreme Court? For a while the law tried exactly that. Until 1997, in a case that still defines this whole chapter. The Supreme Court drew the line, and it drew it in permanent ink. The power of the higher courts to review these tribunals, it said, is part of the basic structure of the Constitution. It cannot be taken away, not even by amendment. A tribunal may hear your case first, but the door to the High Court can never be locked. Tribunals were meant to supplement the courts, never to supplant them. That line is still being defended right now. Because the other half of independence is this: a judge who can be removed early or replaced at will isn't really free. So who controls the tenure of these tribunal members became the new battleground. In 2021, the government set short, fixed terms and tight control over appointments. The Supreme Court struck those rules down. Within weeks, Parliament passed them again as a fresh act. the same rules the court had just rejected. It took 4 years to reach the end. In November of 2025, the court struck them down a second time, and this time it named the offense plainly: legislative override, a breach of the separation of powers and of judicial independence itself. But there is a quieter crisis underneath the courtroom drama. Across the country, these tribunals sit half empty, seats unfilled for months, sometimes years, the promised speedy justice slowing to a crawl. So in that same judgment, the court ordered a fix it had been demanding for years: independent National Tribunals Commission, to oversee how these bodies are staffed and run, and to take that control out of the government's hands for good. So remember the shape of it. Second justice system, 2 articles, one for service, one for almost everything else. Reachable, cheap, specialist, but fenced in by a single unbreakable rule: they can never escape the higher courts. Still fighting today to stay truly independent. These were the courts that judge the government. Next, the courts that judge the seller, the quiet system that protects you the moment you buy something. Chapter 37. The Consumer Commissions